Have you ever watched a horror movie when one of the characters is completely unaware that there is a serial killer lurking behind them and is about ready to attack? And although the soon-to-be victim is aware of the fact that there is a serial killer on the loose, he or she chooses not to take the suggested safety tips and stay out of harm's way. Then, as silent as can be, the killer strikes. Just as quiet, strokes are considered the silent killer. Often, strokes will occur with no apparent signs or symptoms. According to LifelineScreening.com, 80% of stroke victims have no warning, much like a murder victim. But the good news is that when precautions are made and signs are detected early, 4 out of 5 strokes can be prevented, similar to many crimes. So my goal today is to inform you of some helpful tips of how to prevent, detect, and prepare you about strokes. Although not all strokes can be prevented, there are certain guidelines that one should be aware of in order to take the necessary precautions and acquire knowledge about strokes. According to strokecenter.org, the following are factors that can reduce the risk of a stroke: not smoking, preventing obesity, controlling elevated levels of cholesterol and lipids, being physically active, reducing alcohol intake, and not using illegal drugs. If you smoke, according to ScienceDaily.com, a study was proven on October 3, 2011 at the Canadian Stroke Congress that concludes smokers are twice as likely to have a stroke than those who don't smoke. Following these suggested guidelines are an important step in attempting to prevent a stroke and create a healthy lifestyle. Today, there is a much greater understanding of possible causes of strokes in the medical fields. If you look at this visual aid, and according to MayoClinic.com, there are several screens that you can request in order to monitor if you are at any early signs that may put you at a heightened risk for an occurrence of a stroke. These include an ultrasound of the carotid artery heart rhythm screening, abdominal aortic aneurysm screening, peripheral arterial disease screening, and osteoporosis risk assessment. These are recommended especially for those who have a family history of strokes. There are no guarantees in life, and even if you live an extremely healthy lifestyle, there still is the chance that you or a loved one will suffer from a stroke. If confronted with a situation where you or someone else is having a stroke, it is very important to know the initial signs and symptoms. According to MayoClinic.com, you should look for the following symptoms if you think someone is having a stroke: trouble with walking, speech, or understanding, paralysis or numbness of the face, arms, or legs, trouble with seeing, or severe headaches. Don't wait until it is too late. If you notice any of these symptoms, contact a doctor or call 911 immediately. The sooner you can get medical assistance, the better, and typically the less damage there is. Unfortunately, I personally can give testimony to the importance of recognizing and reacting to the signs of a stroke. About a month ago, my grandfather was an active man who still took care of his farm and attended many of his grandchildren's activities. During this time, he had seemed disoriented, but because he was having some other medical issues, including back pains, he was introduced to new medications, and there was a battle with maintaining a healthy blood sugar level due to his diabetes, and the warning signs didn't seem to be apparent for a stroke, even when taken to the emergency room and sent home. Because he was not identified as having a stroke, even from the medical personnel, it went unrecognized for a couple weeks. When the damage had been done, and what is even worse, with the lack of time trying to get into adequate treatment from both a neurologist and cardiologist to see why he had had the stroke and to give him treatment to avoid having another one. Last weekend, after he started to have difficulty walking again, he was immediately rushed to the emergency room, and not only had he had a stroke, but we now discovered that he has a total of 3, and his final one has affected his motor skills on his right side, as well as his speech. He now has a very long road ahead of him to recovery, and because of the delay in diagnosis and treatment, the damage is much greater. According to the National Stroke Association, a person's emotional, physical, and cognitive functions are affected by a stroke. Strokes are very serious medical matters that should not be left unattended. According to Medline Plus, the recovery time after a stroke cannot be determined and is different for every person who is a victim of a stroke. It is the lifetime process that people have to deal with. if they have to deal with if they want to see improvements. A stroke victim's recovery experience is dependent on many factors: the type of stroke and the area of the stroke is affected, and the area of the brain where the damage occurred after the recovery process. There are people who are able to fully recover after their stroke, while others will face difficulties for the remainder of their life. The type of rehabilitation and recovery plan depends on the location, type, and severity of the stroke. According to www.strokeassociation.org, and if you look at this visual aid, many different areas of the body can be affected through the damage at different locations of the brain. The goal for each case is to restore as much physical, mental, and emotional health so the stroke survivor can gain a sense of independence and quality of life. You can clearly understand the importance in becoming knowledgeable about the prevention and detection and treatment of strokes. I hope that I have informed you on some basic information of strokes, and with this knowledge, you can help prevent the silent killer from attacking you or one of your loved ones. Thank you.